Hello and welcome to this overview of the Spirit of the Game Foundation, June 2020. My name is Trent Simmons. I am one of the co-founders of the foundation, and which was formed to help individuals and organizations take personal accountability for their impact on the world. Our organization has four main pillars as of now. So the first pillar is what we call our conventional NGO work, comprised of local programs and global initiatives. Then we have our impact network, which is connecting passionate individuals and helping them disrupt conventional ways of doing business in order to use business and organizations in order to make the world a better place. Then we have impact coaching, again, where we work with individuals and companies who want to prioritize positive impact. And then finally, we have our social movement, which is creating a life philosophy as well as organizing events that bring people together. So the conventional NGO work consists, as I said, of local programs and global initiatives. As an organization, we are very much of the mentality of act local, think global. What that means is anytime that we are running a program in a community or in a city, our goal is always to create a template, to create a manual that same program can be duplicated all over the world. And in many cases, we might have an idea and we realize somebody else is already doing it. And either we improve their idea or they've already got it good enough that we can just take that idea and we can spread it throughout our network, essentially creating this menu of services which organizations within the Spirit of the Game Foundation's ecosystem can use as needed. So a lot of this information can be overwhelming at first because people are like, oh my goodness, like how can I take all of that in? How can I possibly work on all of that? And you don't have to. This is a menu of options of programs that we have you can get involved with, or a foundation for you to attach your own program to so that you're part of a conglomerate, you're part of a movement rather than just trying to do something on your own or within your own limited ecosystem. Being a part of an international movement will generally open a lot of doors which might remain closed to a small scale or simply local operation. So the first program that we are seeking funding for is a mentorship program for youth-led nonprofits. Very basic concept. Young people have a lot of passion. They have a lot of ideas. What they generally don't have is power. What they generally don't have is the experience to put those actions into place. So we simply want to find young people that have a great idea, give them a mentor, some social media, website support, a little bit of funding, and some regular access to our network and see what they can do with it. At the end of the 6-month, 9-month, or 12-month program, the top performers will have an opportunity to pitch, kind of Shark Tank style, for additional funding to actually go move forward with their project. The individuals who had a lot of passion but maybe didn't have a great idea, or whose idea was great but it wasn't super implementable, they can be paired up with the other teams or with the other existing nonprofits and initiatives in order to put their passion to work. So it's really about inspiring and then empowering. And you'll hear that a lot within our organization because that's our mentality. We are not here to do all the work ourselves. We're here to create the network. We're here to bring people together and help each individual to do more good. The second program is entrepreneurial training for mothers. And this is a perfect example of somebody came to us with an idea and said, this is what is needed. Nobody else is doing this, at least not in the way that we would like to see it done, not in this sustainable first, impact first mentality. So we've teamed up with a coach with lots of experience in a UN agency that specializes in this, as well as a few other consultants from around the world, again, tapping into our vast network in order to bring together experts who can all work to create some unique programming. Initiatives. Sorry, going back to the programs for just a second. These are programs that right now we are pursuing in Zurich. And while we're creating this international network of chapters and clubs that I'll go into later, this will be another menu that they will be able to also use if they choose to. If it makes sense for the individuals in their organization, for the organizations in their local network to pursue something like that, here's an option. It's just a series of examples where we've created a template and a manual that makes it much easier to replicate rather than doing it all on your own from scratch. Global initiatives. So the first one that we're working on right now is called Not in My Name. And again, it's on the youth empowerment sphere. Very simple concept. Again, we really want to focus on things that are duplicatable, not too complicated, so that anybody can go ahead and do it. So Not in My Name is simply giving youth the power to make a difference in the world by encouraging them to speak to their parents about the choices their parents are making. And the basic message is usually, Mom, Dad, if you're making any morally dubious choices at work or in your career, simply in order to provide me with a better education or better vacations or a nicer house or any of these things that you think I need to have a better life, if you're compromising your own integrity in order to do those things, stop. Don't do it. Or if you are going to continue to do that, don't say that you're doing it in my name. Because what I need more than any of those things is a planet I can live on, a planet I can walk around on, a planet that isn't completely taken over by a corporate consumer globalization mentality. Stop participating in that system simply to give me some advantages because that's what a lot of people are doing and that's where a lot of the support for this system comes from. At the same time, we're also reaching out through our business network to encourage people that are facing those choices to have those conversations. And again, these are difficult conversations that as an individual, it'd be very hard to get started with. But as part of a global movement of people all over the world doing this now, it empowers you that you're not acting as an individual, that you're acting as part of a movement. Conscience of the corporation is another one. This is the type of idea that we thought maybe 5 years from now we'd have a big enough network, we'd have our presence established, we'd be recognized as experts in our field, and we could start proposing this. But it's such a powerful idea that everybody we've shared it with says, no, you need to prioritize this. This is what is needed right now. And the concept of a conscience of the corporation is quite simple. Most organizations right now have a legal department or outside counsel to tell them when they might be breaking the law. But what they don't have is a similar type of setup that tells them if their action might be unconscionable. Think about that for just a second. Corporations do not currently have a conscience, but they do have a legal department. And on our other initiatives, we're thinking very long term, such as the 100-year plan, which pairs the high net worth individuals with passionate social entrepreneurs who want to carry on that legacy and work together in order to prioritize whatever area makes sense. Get In, Get Out is a financial planning and career advice service that we will be offering to young people coming out of university that allows them to basically avoid the rat race, retire early, or at least have enough savings that they can switch careers into a nonprofit or social entrepreneur career track without having to basically walk out on the limb of not having any savings or financial support behind them. Our next our next pillar of the organization is an impact network. Again, we want to provide examples. We don't want to do all of this work ourselves, but can you imagine a network that exists solely in order to help its members do more good? That's what we're doing. We're reaching out all over the world. We're teaming up with these passionate individuals, these organizations that are doing business the right way, that are working to make a change, and we're connecting them with each other. so that they can help each other grow. So for individuals, we're recruiting these passionate individuals that are basically aligned with our philosophy. And the truth of the matter is, it's actually not that hard to find people because there's a lot of people that basically are working against the status quo, but maybe they're working as individuals or within their small local ecosystem. We can tie them into a broader global network. So our individual impact network is composed on the first level of field experts, coaches, and mentors. These are simply people that align with our philosophy and are experts in their field that want to help promote the growth of the organization and of the movement. We list them on our website. We're going to create a database so that people can go to them and search for their expertise if they want help from somebody that shares their philosophical alignment. The next level from that is the Spirit of the Game 100, where each year we will be selecting 100 particularly passionate or influential individuals who will act as an extended think tank for the board of advisors, as a philosophical sounding board for all of our things, so basically our extended conscience, as well as proposing their own initiatives and writing some of these Spirit of the Game position papers. Alongside that, we'll also create a Youth Spirit of the Game 100 simply to bring together a lot of youth development organizations and help to empower additionally a lot of these young leaders. For organizations, our criteria is first, how can we help them? And then how can they help others? We always want to invest our time and our energy, not simply spend it. So if we're going to help an organization, it's always implicit or sometimes explicit in the agreement that once they've reached the next level of success, that they will turn around and mentor another organization or additional organizations within them. It's the same mentality for our Spirit of the Game national chapters, that once they're established, they will reach out and help other national chapters become established. So the type of organizations we're looking for here are innovative nonprofits, ones that are really willing to push the envelope and try new things, startup social entrepreneurs that we can help them to accelerate their growth. Sometimes actually by providing them with a legal foundation that they can skip those first 1 or 2 years of becoming established and registered as an entity, that we can jumpstart that process. And then scale up disruptors. Again, we find somebody that's doing something really cool or really innovative or really effective anywhere in the world, and we see if that's scalable, if we can help them expand to additional markets. Again, with the idea that if you really want to move the needle on a corporate mentality, one of the best ways to do that is support disruptors. Support these small, agile organizations that with the proper support, they can start to take away market share. So rather than going directly after the big multinational corporations and trying to change their behavior, we simply want to take market share away, because that is the one thing that all of these corporations will respect. They will make those changes once they start losing market share to more impact-oriented competitors. Which brings on to impact coaching. And this is a somewhat controversial term when we're talking to an existing coach, because they typically say, yeah, I'm an impact coach. Of course I have impact. Well, I wouldn't do what I did if there was no impact. Absolutely. For us, the term impact coaching is not about the impact of the coach. It's about selecting clients who are ready to make positive impact on the world their number one priority. So this takes three main forms. The first is generally within a corporate environment or even a small to medium-sized enterprise of Spirit of the Game workshops and leadership developments, employee engagement in business purpose. This is one of the most critical ways that an organization can become more impact-focused, is by empowering the employees to have a voice, to come up with their ideas, giving them some leeway to try things and fail. That it's okay to try something new in the purpose of having a greater positive impact and fail. You learn something, you try something else. And again, this is where our extended network can come into play, where somebody has an idea in one of our workshops It's not like, oh, okay, that's a great idea. It's like, what next? Oh, there's an idea. Let's give you 5 examples from other organizations, other companies that are doing this, other employees that we've worked with who are particularly passionate about this. And in a lot of cases, we'll be able to plug them into a network with those people who are at a similar progress path or slightly ahead that can bring back and provide mentorship for this idea. So it's not just, hey, we're going to do brainstorming and then that's kind of it. We're going to do brainstorming, which leads to try-storming. Next is creativity in the purpose of impact. A lot of times, companies don't maximize their potential to do good simply through lack of creativity because it's not something that's taught. It's not a mentality that's encouraged. But we can, through some of our proprietary methods, can inspire this creativity, can unlock this creativity. And then addressing sensitive issues. This is one of the things that we're seeing, particularly in the US, is there's almost no dialogue. And if there's no dialogue, there's no progress. We're also developing our CEO coaching platform. So one of the elements that is preventing the world from going in a better direction in a lot of areas is CEOs. They don't feel like they're have the ability to convince their board of directors to go in the direction that they want to. So this is not just about making a more persuasive argument. It's also about what we call using their halo effect, which is their unique network, their unique experience, their ability to have a greater influence than they individually can. But some of this, again, requires creative thinking where they have to retrain their brain. So the first thought when they get up in the morning is not, how can I make more money for my company? How can I hold things together? How can I deal with whatever crisis might be coming across my desk next? But the first thought can be, how can I use this company that I've been put in charge with, as well as my whole network, to do more good? And then, like we said, using that to convince their board, explaining that in some instances that it can actually be more profitable to do more good. And then for a CSR, that's corporate social responsibility, a holistic analysis where we'll come in and generally speaking, we're not going to focus a lot on typical sustainability issues that are kind of science and statistic based. Where our focus is that halo effect that they can use their unique position in the world of business to do more good in specific areas, but also they can have their ability as a purchaser, as a supplier, to create change across their ecosystem. And all of this is in the goal of creating this social movement. So a lot of times we get the question like, oh my goodness, particularly as a young organization, why are you going in all of these different directions? And the answer is a little bit complicated. One is that, again, we don't want to be the organization that's doing all of this work. We want to be facilitators. And what that means is we get a lot of ideas that come to us along with, well, sometimes we get ideas that come to us along with an individual who's not passionate enough to make it happen. Generally speaking, we're like, okay, here's what we would need from you in order to move forward. And a lot of times it doesn't go anywhere. But a lot of times it does. And that's where a lot of these programs have come from, is individuals who have a passion, have an idea, and they are willing to pursue it with our assistance. The overall goal of this social movement is simply to bring people together. So, somebody said, okay, what's your 100-year plan as an organization? Okay, off the top of our head, we'd like 1 billion followers of the spirit of the game life philosophy. Okay, Bill Gates once said the average person dramatically overestimates how much they can accomplish in 1 year and dramatically underestimates how much they can accomplish in 10 years. we're just going to multiply that by another 10 times for 100 years from now, because the reality is we say 1 billion people, but there's already probably 3 to 4, even 5 or 6 billion people in the world that generally subscribe to our core principles and to our philosophy. However, our leadership has more interest in keeping us distracted by focusing on our differences rather than uniting us behind our common and shared beliefs. So one of this is simply building the momentum through engagement events. This is examples such as sport and discussion evenings. We're going to do some physical activity. Everybody knows that there will also be some type of impactful discussion about society, about innovative change, about tri-storming. 5 minutes of yoga and conversation is just setting up in a public space some yoga mats and inviting people to stop, take 5 minutes out of their day to do a little bit of light stretching with a yoga-led exercise while we have this conversation. Of course, if they want to stick around longer and engage further, that will be an opportunity, but we're going to be running a new workshop every 15 to 30 minutes. Again, just this idea of encouraging people to take some time to stop and discuss these things. As well as handing out some of our promotional material and basically spreading the word there that there is a philosophy that's relatively, well, we could say new, but in a lot of ways it's not really creating something new. It's just remembering where we came from and what it would be nice to get back to, where we actually prioritize positive impact on the world and we actually prioritize this new definition of winning, which we are helping to create. Along with that, we also have our impact events, which, for example, might be focused on how to be more effective with impact investment, how to lead more effective boycotts, how to more effectively influence corporate culture. And again, we're getting new ideas every day. We're getting new organizations that say, oh, yeah, we already have something along these lines. Let's work together to see if your methodology, your philosophy can help us to tweak our approach and create an even more effective presentation. Life philosophy. I've mentioned this a few times already. So this is basically what we're trying to accomplish as a whole, as a not just as an organization, but as a movement, that more and more cracks appear in the current system because it is breaking down, because it was never sustainable in the first place. It was based on perpetual growth with generally exploitation of existing resources and exploitation of disadvantaged people, making more and more people disadvantaged. It was inevitable. And now we're seeing this on a widespread scale, how things are breaking down, and people are looking for ways to do things differently. But the average person, as an individual, doesn't feel empowered to actually make a difference. So again, our goal is to both inspire and then empower by providing this framework for people to make a lot of these tough decisions about their career choices, about when to stand up at work and say, no, that's not acceptable. Creating a community which stands for something rather than simply against the current systems. This is also something that's kind of lacking in a lot of these movements that might be focused on a specific project or a specific problem. We see the spirit of the game, life philosophy, social movement as a potential unifier that bringing together all of these people that share the same basic core values, but are expressing them in different manners. Again, creating more of a sense of community, making it, bringing together people who share this and are also, this is important, willing to engage with people who might not agree with them on everything. Again, conversation leads to progress. Lack of dialogue leads to a dead end. And then also, like I've mentioned a few times, helping to refine the current methods of influence by bringing together experts from the NGO world, the business world, government, academia, pretty much people that a lot of times they don't interact with each other unless they're like absolutely focused on the exact same issues. There's a lot of great energy, a lot of good ideas, and a lot of potential for creative solutions to today's problems through this cross-disciplinary approach. So the way that we are setting up our structure is currently we have the World Spirit of the Game Foundation, which is also acting as the Swiss Spirit of the Game Foundation. We are setting up a network of national Spirit of the Game chapters, which will be started by steering committees. This is simply a group of individuals that say, we want to make this happen. We want to support this. How can we help? Okay, we're just going to create a committee that over the next 2 years, some cases it might be as short as 3 months, but we want to make sure that we can engage people, even like the super busy people, without putting this immediate timeline on them. This has to happen now. That, all right, let's bring together like-minded people. Let's start the process of creating these national nonprofits that can act as the overseers, basically, of Spirit of the Game movement and Spirit of the Game activities within their country. One of the main next levels of that is Spirit of the Game clubs, which are simply groups of individuals that want to engage in activities. Below that is we have our Spirit of the Game discussion groups, which again, just individuals that want to talk about things, that want to have meaningful conversations, that want to take some portion of their life in order to actually talk about these things and propose some ideas. So this is designed not just to be top down, but also bottom up, where these discussion groups are bringing up potentially new ideas, new mentalities on some of societal issues. That the more people you have talking about a problem, the more likely you are to come up with creative and innovative solutions. Same thing with Spirit of the Game clubs, that they're going to be starting their own activities in order to provide additional items for the menu for other clubs and other national chapters to implement if it makes sense in their community and within the work that they are doing. Parallel to this is our impact coaching network, where we will be setting up national affiliates to support the National Spirit of the Game chapters. And to some degree, this impact coaching may be split off as its own for-profit entity, but with the specific goal written into the bylaws that their primary purpose is also supporting the foundations. With impact coaching, one of the reasons to do this is our impact coaching network, our national affiliates can share a global resume. They can point to the work that's been doing in other countries and the efficacy of the Spirit of the Game approach, so that they're not just trying to do something on their own. And over time, we anticipate that we'll have a centralized marketing and sales team that will actually be able to, again, influence corporate culture through working with some of these open-minded multinational organizations. Then we have several areas of focus that kind of overlap in one or more of our pillars. One of these is a decentralized structure where, again, it's not top down, that it's organic, that it is part of a movement that can grow naturally rather than being forced. Influence corporate culture, we've talked about several times. We mentioned one of our women's empowerment initiatives. There's several other areas there. Youth leadership development is obviously a key part of our thinking, because of this long-term strategic thinking, that the more individuals that are joining this network and the movement, the more powerful it will become. And most organizations, particularly in the nonprofit world, have to focus on this year, next year. How do we get funding? How do we make sure that we survive as an organization? And for us, it's way more than just the organization, that it's this movement. It's this long-term ways to change society. Again, our overall goal for all of this work is to create this new definition of winning, to create new parameters for success, to make it easier for more people to break out of the current rat race and to embrace a new way of thinking that allows them to live productive, successful, and healthy lives. So in summary, like I said, it can be pretty overwhelming to try to take in all of this at once. It's important to remember this is simply a framework that individuals and organizations can attach themselves to in order to do more good. We'll provide the garden, you plant the seeds, we'll help to engage the community. Together we can do more than we could ever do alone.